it's like this long list of cliches, right? And this one did all of them. And like, I don't even know where to begin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are back. The Eye of the Storm. I'm here with my boy Daniel.
Hey,
Daniel, before we get into the main discussion, best recent thing you've seen?
this week I'm continuing my Family Guy rewatch, currently on season 11. So that's eating up a lot of my watching time. It's really interesting to see because it started in 99 and it's been running throughout all the 2000s and 2010s and up to now. And it's really interesting to see the humor change, and it's commenting a lot on current events, right? So if you just kind of speed run it and go at a season every couple of days, it's a really interesting kind of time capsule. But the best thing I watched this week was Police Squad, which is a classic, and I think lots of people have heard of it. But it's basically, if you've seen like The Naked Gun or Airplane or Top Secret, like those kinds of spoof comedies, this was basically a show that kind of was a prototype for a bunch of these. It's like a slapstick comedy show from, I want to say, the 70s, where it's basically about, like, each episode is a different case, and you've got police officers investigating different cases, but it's all just an excuse to make a bunch of jokes. And it's very funny and it's very classic. And it's a lot of fun, and it's not that easy to get, unfortunately. It basically lasted 5 episodes, and TV audiences rejected it because it was too subtle, apparently, for 1970s television. And it's silly and juvenile humor, but it's very funny.
Okay. Cool. What's it called again, sir?
Police Squad.
Police Squad. Cool. I saw a French film. The French spider film, actually. It was really good. I was surprised how good it was. It was called Infested. Pretty much some guy who likes animals. He didn't steal the spider, but he bought it off someone. Yeah, he bought the spider off someone, and then the spider ended up escaping inside his room, and then it pretty much ended up reproducing, and now everyone in the residents in the block of flats are literally they're battling against a bunch of spiders now. So it was a fun film. It was definitely fun. It's called Infested.
When was it made?
I'm not. Was it this year? No, last year.
Last year, okay. And that sounds a bit like the premise to about 50 horror movies. Is there anything about it that's special or that stands out? It's French.
It's French. There was
Does that change the kind of horror it is? Or is it horror?
It wasn't really horror. I don't know if it didn't feel horror. It felt like more of a thriller. I don't know what its official genre is, but it felt like a thriller. So it didn't really feel like a horror at all. In terms of if there was anything different, I don't necessarily think there was anything different with this one. There was like the whole comedic tone to it, which I surprisingly liked, especially with the character interactions and relationships. I definitely liked how it developed, and the kills as well were very kind of like hard to watch in terms of the people that ended up dying. I was like, damn, that person died as well. In terms of like if there was anything different, I wouldn't say there was. It was just a fun film. I wouldn't say there was nothing different in comparison to other films that we've seen, but it was a fun film, and it's French, so
So it's a classy movie about depressed spiders. Or in what way is it French?
Nah. Funny enough, where did they steal the spider from? The spider came from like a country in the Middle East, and then I think they illegally brought it over, and then someone ended up selling. You know when people sell things to you at the back of their shop. So it wasn't illegally. So yeah, he
like it's an exotic pet kind of thing.
Exactly. So he illegally bought this spider. So yeah, I don't think there was nothing different about this one. It was just fun.
Okay, sounds good.
But now the main event, the main discussion.
All right, The Strangers, Chapter 1. Jonathan, what's your take?
Oh man, Daniel, The Strangers, the original version, 2008, was one of my favorite movies of all time. Horror movies of all time, definitely top 3. But this one, let's call it a remake. It wasn't it, man. They just toned it down, and I know why they toned it down. This is my theory, because they tried to make it accessible to a bigger audience. The first one, the original, was 2008. The age restriction for that one was 18, I believe. This one was 15, and I could even say this one felt like a 15 film. To be fair, that's a lie. You could tell that this film was definitely intended for. I would even say you could say it was intended for the teenagers. I don't think teenagers are this brain dead. To be fair, I don't know what the teenagers are like, anyways. But still, this film just wasn't it, man. It was toned down. It felt theatrical at times. There was hardly any jump scares. It lost. I think this film lost that sinister touch that the original version had. And the way that that was executed was with the use of silence. This one, background me like the cliches when it comes to like the type of background music that he used. It just felt overbearing at times. I was like, why are you using the background music for this scene? If you watch, especially okay, we're not even in the spoiler section, but there's a scene where, for me, it was so prolific, right? Where it was just pure silence. Whereas this one, they use background music. I just said, what the flip? Like, this felt like a scary kids film. It felt like a scary kids film. I was just so disappointed. But like I said, it was one of my favorite movies toned down. I don't know why they did it, but they did. Yeah, I wasn't impressed, man. I was actually devastated. Because when they ruin like one of your favorite memories, that's what it felt like. They just crushed one of my favorite memories with this film. And don't get twisted, this movie wasn't terrible, but in comparison, like I said, in comparison to the 2008 version, it just wasn't it. They just made it worse.
I think this might be the first time I've seen you upset about a movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
like I've been there more than a few times. But normally for you this is rare.
Yeah, because when I saw the trailer, I didn't understand why they did this again. I felt like this didn't have to be touched. Because I remember so previous to this there were Strangers 2, which came out in 2018, I believe. That movie wasn't too great. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't too great. So I thought, okay, you know what? The way that that second film ended, I thought, oh no, actually thought no, the way that film ended, one of them was still alive, I believe, in the second film. So they could have continued it, or they could have created some sort of backstory as to why the strangers were on a killing spree. But yes, I don't know why they created a whole remake, because this is pretty much what it was a remake. So I said, okay, if they're gonna create a remake, then clearly they're trying to create like a continuation, as in they're trying to create a whole franchise around this, especially because it says part one. So okay, they've got an idea of where they're gonna take this. Cool, but you know, and when I saw the trailer, it didn't really look too great. But I said, let me just give it a chance. One of my favorite movies of all time. Let me see where they take this, and they just didn't do anything with it. They just, like I said, they sourced it down, man. They turned it down. They just made it more theatrical. It wasn't great.
So I haven't seen the other Strangers movies. I actually ordered the Blu-ray for the original 2008 one because every review I read compared this one unfavorably to the 2008 version. Basically saying it's the same story, but the 2008 version is just better in every way. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and maybe it will be my best thing next week. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it before this. And actually hadn't heard of it until about a week ago or so. So this seems to be a bit of a hidden gem as well. Yes. Where not many people have heard of it, but people who have seen it generally, for the most part, say it's brilliant. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. So I think this movie, like just looking at this fresh as a standalone movie without having seen the original, I think this is the most mediocre movie I've seen in a while. And it's not even that. So there are things about it that are bad. Like the protagonists are extremely stupid. There are plot holes all over the place. But from scene to scene, it's a functional movie. But it's the most obvious, most basic way you could tell that story. And every time, like there are a few places in the movie where I thought they were going to do something interesting, and then they didn't, right? And especially they keep setting things up and they never pay off, or if they do, it's in a disposable way. It doesn't really matter. So we're gonna probably get into specifics of that. But point is, this is the most generic and bland and cliche-ridden version of the story you could have possibly told. Like everything that's distinctive about it is stripped away. Everything that was done well in the original, according to the consensus, is done really poorly here. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is memorable or iconic or in any way stands out or shows any kind of creativity or thought. So this is about as disposable as it gets. And at least with this is maybe the only movie I was upset at having seen since we started doing this podcast, because all the like we've reviewed some bad horror movies this year, right?
Yeah.
Imaginary and Night Swim specifically, and I wasn't angry at them exactly. Like those were almost kind of interesting in terms of how broken they were. And this movie isn't broken; it's just bad. It's just the minimum amount of effort that anybody could have put into a movie was put into this. And this isn't even made by a first-time director. Like this director has made, Renny Harlin has made like 40 movies over 30 years. It's incredible that somebody with any more amount of experience can turn in something so basic. And like, I can't explain it. I don't know the guy. I don't know the backstory of the production of this movie. But everything that could possibly be interesting was expertly avoided in the making of this movie.
It's like they were banking on its name, as in like they're like, okay, when people kind of like take things for granted, and they kind of take advantage of the audience, and they kind of use, obviously, because The Strangers, this is a remake, right? So The Strangers already, I wouldn't say it's a prolific film, but it has some sort of a following, because people obviously, a lot of people were comparing it with the 2008 version. So it's like they were banking on, okay, past fans are gonna watch this. So even though past fans are gonna go and watch this, I don't know why they still wouldn't put effort in this, because like you said, you're right, it felt very generic. But that's what I say, it wasn't bad, but like you said it best, it felt very generic, and they made the original worse for what reason I do not know. This kind of felt like a TV film, a TikTok movie. I don't know, it felt like they were kind of taking the piss out of the audience. I don't know why. I felt very disrespected. I felt so disrespected. Bro, like, is this what you guys were hoping? Because you obviously, a lot of these films, they want to make their money back, and they have made their money back.
This is on its way to making a profit. Exactly. So $8.5 million budget as of today, box office is 12.6. So with another week or two, plus streaming and whatever, it's gonna make a profit.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, you know what? Let's just make a film and then attach the name Strangers, because Strangers comes with fans, and we're gonna make our money. Let's just make another horror movie where we're gonna make our money. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Honestly, it felt like.
But here's why I don't think that makes sense. You may be right that that's what they were thinking, but it still doesn't make sense. The Strangers is not a big IP, right? This is not like The Exorcist, where you pay $300 million just for the rights, because a movie called The Exorcist sells itself because it's such an iconic name, even to people who haven't seen it. The Strangers is a non-name. It's not a valuable brand. Like, a whole bunch of horror nerds not like the movie, and those are exactly the people who will not like your movie, right? They are making, like, these two things are in conflict with each other. If you make a movie, I think what you said earlier is spot on, that they softened down the movie so that it would have a broader appeal. They could have more showings and more people would watch it, and that makes the movie more money. But that conflicts with the idea that this is a recognizable IP, right? Because the diehard horror nerds who have been recommending this to each other for 16 years are not going to like that, right? They're not going to say, yeah, this is a fresh, interesting take on the Strangers mythos, because it's not.
But when you have a new audience with existing audience and you put them together.
Yeah, but you are inviting a whole bunch of bad press. Like, we are not the only ones who are trashing this movie. Everybody is. For the past couple of days, I've been watching like deep dives on all the ways in which this movie is terrible. Like, I've not seen one positive review of this movie from people who know horror. Right? The only positive views I've seen is just people who kind of walked into a random movie to be entertained, and they were entertained, therefore it was a good movie, and more power to them. But if you care about the movie and the story and the previous movie, like this is upsetting.
Do you think that they think this is the standard of film now? Because like I said, they, the whole, before it was rated R, now it's 15. So did you think that they think, okay, this is the standard that 15-year-olds and above was deemed as acceptable or deemed as a good movie?
I have no idea. I can't explain it. It feels like somebody's first movie.
That's which is baffling, because this guy, I think he even made The Last Exorcist.
Well, he made one Exorcist movie, like one of the smaller spin-offs, yeah. Even aside from that, he's made a whole bunch of movies over 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a beginner. So that is not the explanation. And it may be that this is purely a job for hire, and somebody put together this script, whatever. I have no idea. I can't explain it. But there's zero it's almost a cliche to complain about, uncreative or written by AI or whatever, but this genuinely feels like it. Like everything is like, this is just a collection of cliches just strung together with duct tape. There's nothing else to this. So I think that's, I think we've made our feelings clear on this. So maybe we can launch into some specifics.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really, just one more thing, like this is supposed to get people excited for the next 2 movies, and those next 2 movies have already been shot. So
They already shot them.
Yeah, they filmed them at the same time. All 3 movies are completed, and they will be released over the next year.
Over the next year? Nah, they
Yeah.
straight to
So
stream.
chapter 2 is supposed to come later this year, and chapter 3 sometime early next year. Specific dates haven't been announced. And I think they were even both supposed to come out this year, and they've been both moving back a little bit. Whether that's because of the negative reaction or some other reason, I don't know. But
And this was just a quick cash grab. It has to be. I don't think.
No, this is an attempt to create a franchise.
Like,
basically, they're probably saying the last one was 20 years ago. We can't get Liv Tyler and the other actors back. So we have to start fresh, and we're going to lock in some 20-something actors who are cheap and won't put up a fight or make many demands. Like that's kind of my theory. And by locking them in for 3 movies already, like they're getting a whole bunch of movie for cheap. So it may be that this is just about generate a bunch of buzz, and then people will want to see it on streaming, and that drives up the price in streaming, and that's how you make your money in the long run. I think that's the most plausible scenario. I doubt anybody involved thought this was a good movie.
It makes me wonder, because I remember you mentioned before that I think there was a lot of executive producers that was involved in this. So this kind of makes you wonder. I think it's surely, because obviously this guy, the director, he's made a bunch of movies. So it doesn't seem like he was in control of this film. I don't know. I'm just assuming. I'm just putting out theories there. Because if he's made so much films, like he's not a rookie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He knows how to make a film. Like he's got a bunch under his freaking resume. So this film, either this guy's just lost his touch and he's become lazy, or he's executive producer, or the business side has taken over when it comes to this film.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the vision, because I can't see someone just so, someone that's a pro, someone that's created so many films, and the films that he's created on. I think you mentioned one of them was Die Hard, right?
Die Hard 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, one of the Exorcist movies, and then a bunch of like medium names that some of which I've heard before. It's not like this guy is like a genius filmmaker, but he's experienced. So, but yeah, I think the bottom line of this is you make a movie for relatively cheap, like 3 movies. Like if you make them all at the same time, you get certain efficiencies, right? You make them cheaper than if you made them across or over the course of like 2 years or whatever. Like scheduling wise, location wise, it's all cheaper than filming them consecutively, right? And I think you just make it for as cheaply as possible, generate a bunch of buzz, and then sell it to streaming services. I think that's the scam.
It's just crazy. I wonder what they're gonna do now with the chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3. Even though it's gonna release in theaters, I'd say release chapter 2 in theaters and see how that does. I don't see it doing great, and then chapter 3 sell it to streamers, sell it to friggin' Amazon or someone.
I see this on Netflix in a year. Something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe let's launch into the movie.
Okay, you know what? You're being negative about. What would you say that you liked? Was there anything that that you could commend them for?
Not a lot. So there were a bunch of scenes that in a vacuum were not terrible. Like the whole sequence where they were crawling under the floorboards. Like, still not a great scene, but I thought that was decently well made. Like, somewhat well acted. Like, I'm cautious here because, one, they're surrounded by awful scenes, but I think the acting itself is not the worst thing. It's all in the writing, or mostly in the writing. Like, I don't know that these are amazing actors, but it seems like they try, right? So I don't think they're ruining good material. I think they're stuck with pretty terrible material, and I think that's what kills the movie. So like there are individual scenes where it's okay, but there was nothing really, there was nothing where I said, oh, this is great. At least I like that or something.
Mm.
There really wasn't. It's like this movie is like 4 out of 10 the movie. It's not the worst I've seen, but also not good. And you can immediately imagine how it could be better.
I definitely be like I said, I think this is a streaming film. If I watched this on like a Netflix, I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have been mad that I spent 2 hours. I was just a bit angry that I spent money watching this because
Yeah.
this wasn't, it wasn't worthy enough to be seen on the big screen. But okay, I don't want to go on a freaking rant. In terms of what I liked, I did kind of like the calf scene in the beginning. The tone that was set was was sinister, not sinister, but it was mixture of sinister and mystery, which I kind of did like. So I'd give it to them when it comes to the calf scene. Even though it was a bit weird because it's very informal at times, especially with the lady that was actually serving them. When he said something like, "Oh."
Like in the diner where they're getting food.
Yeah, and then she said,
Yeah.
how come you haven't married her yet? And
Yeah.
then he said something about I'm waiting for something about he's waiting for his food. So I kind of liked that interaction in terms of how weird people were acting at the calf.
Yeah.
Even though that didn't really, well, I was gonna say it didn't amount to anything, but it kind of does. I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense because it kind of makes you wonder as a viewer, okay, maybe one of the strangers is one of these people in this calf because everyone in that calf was acting weird. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And obviously they've had a few even when the guy went back to go and grab him and his girlfriend some food, the people that there were still acting weird as well. They were even in the calf.
Yeah.
They were just somewhere else now. So I was like, okay, so people from it could be anyone from that little community because
Yeah.
they were just weird, which I did like. I liked those parts. For me was I felt that the acting felt more authentic in comparison
Yeah.
to the rest of the film.
Yeah, so I had a different experience with that aspect. Like the entire townsfolk aspect of it, I think was one of the many, many unmotivated cliches in this movie.
Oh, damn.
So I've seen so many horror movies where big city types come to a small town and everybody in the town is a weirdo. Like weirdo and hostile and borderline inbred. And, like this, it's like this long list of cliches, right? And this one did all of them. And like I don't even know where to begin. So first of all, this is a movie about a home invasion and about stranger danger, right? This idea that it's completely random. There's no rhyme or reason behind the violence. It just happens to you and it kills you or it ruins your life, whatever. But there's no story to it, right? Like you're not going to get a bunch of exposition and you're not going to find out why you were the target, right? If you make the townsfolk creepy and weird and hostile to outsiders, that completely defeats the purpose, or at least in conflict. Because now it's because there are bad people in this town, not because like it undermines this whole thing about the randomness. So in the 2008 movie, was anything like that the case, or
No. There's literally the only human interaction that's happening in that film was obviously the relationship between the couple, I think the guy's brother, the boyfriend's brother, and the strangers. They literally just go from the venue where the guy was gonna propose to her or something, straight to the woods.
Yeah, like that is one way in which the movie doesn't understand its source material, right? Because it's so it's not just that this stuff is cliche. It's also that it undermines the reason this movie is scary or supposed to be scary.
Mm-mm.
Right?
But could you argue with? I do agree that it was cliche with the whole town folk, right? I call them folk. I do agree, but could you argue that and say, that maybe they did that because it will raise questions amongst the audience when it comes to finding out who the strangers actually are? Because obviously, like, okay, maybe it could be, because they start to question, like, okay, maybe the reason why there's people acting weird is because, it has to be someone, it has to be one of those people that we saw in the calf, or
probably, yeah. I mean, they could theoretically be from another town, right? They could just be going to neighboring towns, knocking on doors, seeing who's home. It's possible.
I'm just giving it the benefit of the doubt,
because
if that isn't the reason why they inserted that scene, then it doesn't make sense. It's redundant. Like if
I think they did that because that's how horror movies work.
Okay.
Like you're supposed to have those kinds of characters in horror movies.
I
genuinely, like, every all this anti-city, anti-outsider kind of attitude that had nothing to do with the story or anything like that. It's just that's what happens in horror movies. And some horror movies at least try to subvert it by making the people scary but well-natured. Like there have been a bunch of horror movies where the creepy old, petrol station attendant is creepy, but he's trying to warn people. Something like that, right? That's the extent to like that's what it looks like when movies try to be clever about this stuff, right? And here it's a horror movie, therefore we have these kinds of characters.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So, and then next unmotivated cliche, the church. This whole thing about the church, right? It happens twice, right? Where they get proselytized to. Once by the boys who are handing out flyers, right? And then once again at the restaurant takeaway kind of place where the boyfriend gets food and he immediately gets proselytized to as well, right? Nothing to do with anything. Like if the movie was about like this is an insular community and they don't like outsiders and they don't like the big city types, like whatever. But this is like there would have a place, right? Because clearly this is foreign to these two New Yorkers, right? But there's no connection to the story, right? There's no reason for why that's here. Now, I have a theory, and maybe you can confirm this to me, but aren't the two boys handing out church flyers? They're in the 2008 movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think they kind of they find the Liv Tyler character at the very end. So I think from what I've seen from clips is they talk to the murderers and it happens from far away. So they see the killer's face and we don't. And then but they think they're just regular people, and then they go on to the house, knock on the door is probably open or whatever. I'm making assumptions here, and then they find the victims. So I think in this movie there are these two boys handing out church flyers because they were in the first movie.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. I don't think they serve another purpose.
So you just pretty much they're trying to trigger like nostalgia.
Kind of like it's like they are repeating things that. It's like they watched the first movie and just made a list. So here's an analogy, right? Did you see the 2016 Ghostbusters movie?
I don't think so.
That one was a big train wreck, and it was just not a good movie. And in interviews, the director said something like, so when you're making a Ghostbusters movie, what you do is you sit down, you make a list of things you want to see. You want to see the proton packs, you want to see Actor 1, you want to see Slimer. You make a list of cool things, and you put those in your movie. That's how you make a franchise movie. And I think this is exactly what they did here. I think they watched The Strangers and made a list of things that are recognizable about the 2008 version. And then they put them in the movie. And that's it. That's the creative process.
I'd agree. I think they did the same thing with this as well. But the reason why I say that is because in the first film, those boys were innocent. But this one, the boys seemed like they were part of, the sinister act that the town were trying to do. So I didn't understand why their approach was like, why they did that with those characters. So I agree. But even if that is the case, they just did it for nostalgia purposes. They did it wrong because they weren't like that in the first film. So
exactly.
This film is so confusing. Like, you have the source material, so why are you? I get that you want to add your own spin to it. I get it. Like, you don't want to,
But did they?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they actually did, but they did it so wrong, and it's like you just have a question mark. Like, why would you do it like this? Bro, Daniel, it baffles me. Even like one scene that annoyed me so much, which ruined it for me, was the ending. Like, Daniel, when you get the Blu-ray version, when you actually watch the original version, you will see how badly they executed the end, the killing scene of the couple in this one in comparison to the 2008 version. And the reason why they did that for me is because obviously in the original version it was more gruesome. This one, it was terrible, man. Honestly, you watch it and I'm telling you, you will see what I'm talking about. Because in the first one, the amount of times that they were stabbing them was just like it was. What, like that for me was traumatic. I was like, oh my god. I put me in that situation, like, damn, imagine if that was me. Like, I know there's some evil people out there. Like, there's like real evil people out there that will just kill you for no reason. So that kind of put me in that type of headspace. Like, the way that they were just killing them was like, oh my god. But this one, in the remake, They stabbed them once and then they kicked them over. You'll watch it when you watch the original version.
Yeah.
You're like, this is just done so poorly. Like it's not even toned down at this point. It's just let's ruin it. That's
Yeah. I'm getting a picture. But yeah, it's not surprising me that you say this.
Mm.
So another thing where I think they did the same thing is in the movie when the killers start making their move and Maya and Ryan hide in the bedroom.
Yes.
There's writing on the inside of the wall, like in red paint, and it's just like words taunting them. I don't remember what they say, but clearly the killers have written stuff there on the inside, essentially saying, we know that you're going to hide in this room, so we're gonna put stuff like writing on the wall to freak you out, kind of thing, right? That kind of was the, like, if I have to make like, they don't explain this and they don't even really show it. It's kind of like off center very briefly, and maybe this is an editing thing where there's a deleted scene that explains this, but it's not explained in the movie as it exists. But do you know what am I talking about?
Yeah.
So I vaguely have heard that in the original movie, the whole writing on the wall thing is a bigger deal, where the killers do exactly that. Is that true?
I don't remember. Bear in mind, I watched this so long ago. I don't fully remember because I don't remember what the writing on the wall said. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'll need to know what it said in order for me to remember.
But the killers put it there, right? So like, there's no other reason for it to be there. So, but is that a thing from the movie, from the original?
I think I saw. I'm sure. I think
Yeah.
I saw some scenes where there was writing on the wall. But I'm just trying to. But yeah, I think I saw a scene where there was writing on the wall. But I just don't remember if it amounted to anything.
Okay. But if that's true, then that's another case of it was in the first movie, so it's in this movie, but we're not going to bother to make it matter. Right? So not having seen the movie, and if you can't recall the details, it's kind of a moot point. But it felt like it, right? Because it's not set up, it's not explained. They don't react to it, so it feels a bit like this was maybe in an earlier draft or something, and they filmed it. But they couldn't cut all of it out for whatever reason. Like they realized too late that they couldn't fix it, whatever. But it seems to me like they put it there because it's a thing that happened, like in the original. So, and that's like, now we are now up to several of these, right? What else is there to talk about? Like,
you don't think there was anything for you that worked? Anything that you said, okay, I could.
So here's the problem, right? So the characters are boring. Like, they're the most. So I have this thing about everything in fiction is optional, right? You don't have to have interesting heroes. Your heroes don't have to have a character arc. Villains don't have to be interesting. You don't need to have themes in the movie, but you have to have something. There has to be something that the audience can latch on to. And if you're really strong in one department, then you can be lacking in the others. Like, my classic example is superhero stories. Main characters don't usually have a character arc. They're usually the same person in the end compared to the beginning, and it's a kind of a genre convention that the villains are the ones who change the status quo, and the heroes try to restore it. Right? That's kind of how these stories work. Yeah. And they can still be good stories if they give you something else, and usually they do this by having an interesting villain that challenges the hero in some way, or is a reflection of the hero in some way. For example, right? So when I complain about where characters don't have arcs, or the villains don't have an interesting motivation, like, each of those things is optional, but you have to pick at least one, right? You have to take something that is really convincing in your movie, and this movie simply didn't have any of it. Main characters were uninteresting. They were like, if they were my neighbors, I would like them, but that's it, right? They don't have an interesting story. They don't do interesting things. The villains are completely bland. They don't do anything at all. They don't even have interesting kills. The location, there's no theme in this, right? Like, I never once got the idea that this was about a home invasion. Actually, watching this movie and thinking about it, I was actually reminded of an experience I had that would make for a better movie than this, which is, so if we're talking about home invasion movies and why a home invasion is scary, stuff like that, right? So a couple of years ago, I had moved to a new apartment, and I'd lived there for about a week or something. And one night, I'm asleep, and my doorbell rings, and I check my watch, and it's like 3 a.m, and my bedroom was I was on the 3rd floor and was right above the building entrance, right? So I could look down and see who was at the door. And it was some guy, right? Ringing my doorbell, pacing back and forth, looking kind of aggressive. And I'm in a new neighborhood. It's not the nicest neighborhood, so like it's the kind where you're a little bit careful, right? And like the guy rings my doorbell 2 or 3 more times, takes out his phone, calls somebody, gets increasingly agitated, and then after about 10-15 minutes leaves. Now, nothing dangerous happened. This guy didn't threaten me. He didn't try to break in, anything like that. I wasn't in actual danger. I was still scared because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if this guy is going to start banging on the door. You don't know if he's going to get aggressive, right? So whatever, right? So what did I do? Like I double checked that my door was locked. I got a knife from the kitchen, put it on my nightstand just in case he comes back. Right? So it took half an hour to calm down, and eventually I went back to sleep. And I was kind of a little bit out of it the next day. Imagine, like, that was my reaction to not having a break-in.
Yeah.
Right? Now imagine having a real break-in. Like, the place that is your home is no longer your home. It's no longer your sanctuary. You're no longer safe there. You can no longer relax there. Like every sense of safety and protection that you have, that you gain when you close that door and the rest of the world is locked out, that is no longer true. That is why a home invasion is scary. And that is why this movie, like a movie about that, is scary and unsettling. Because we've all been in this situation where we're not we don't feel quite at home in our homes anymore, right? So at no point did this movie ever touch on that idea. Like in the slightest.
They you know what it is? They try to do it. And one thing, because I won't say I disagree with you. I definitely hear what you're saying, but I think they did try to do it with the whole, what's the, in the beginning where knock on the door and then they open it and then it's one of the strangers where they're asking, is Thing home? And obviously
it was decently creepy. Like if we have to scrape the barrel to find something decent, like that was a decently creepy scene.
Exactly, which by the way was executed much better in the first one. This one, I think they overdid it. So I definitely hear what you're saying. I think they did, because the reason why I'm kind of like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time is because the material that was used in this one is obviously from the original, and in the original I didn't feel the sense of fear of a home invasion in the remake, but I did feel it in the original one. And obviously in the beginning with the whole knock on the door, that does happen in the original as well. So, and I felt the sense of, damn, like, what the hell was happening? Like that was weird. I feel like someone could, it feels like a setup. It felt like a setup, and someone could break into the house. So I did feel that with that one. That's why I don't disagree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I felt the fear of my home being broken into with that scene where the girl's asking, is someone home? I forgot the name that they used.
It's Tamra home, yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't feel that when you saw that scene?
Well, I mean, it is a little bit creepy, right? But so and this is kind of step one in that kind of thing, right? Like people call your home, or they knock on your door to see if somebody will open, and if nobody opens, then they rob the place. It's like that all makes sense, but that isn't the whole thing. Also, the whole thing was undermined by Maya specifically doing the dumbest stuff in response to it. Like I can imagine this happening, right? And then, what do? I get a knife from the kitchen and I, don't turn my back to a window, or I turn on as many lights as I can, or I do something to make myself feel safer. What does she do? She gets high and she takes a shower. And she plays some piano, turning her back to the living room.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, if I feel freaked out, I'm not turning my back to the room.
It's like she was just. It felt like she was oblivious to the whole situation. Like she experienced it, and then
it wasn't even a coping mechanism.
Exactly.
It wasn't even like I could understand it if the movie conveyed to me that she's freaked out, but she wants to convince herself that everything is normal, so she does normal things. Okay. But they didn't like in the shower scene, for instance, they didn't even bother to show her even a little bit freaked out. Like even if she's just looking down the hallway, like she's looking down the hallway once, but that's after the killer is there, right? Like, she should be paranoid at this point. And, double check everywhere, and I don't know, anything, right? She just does horror protagonist stuff, like in the half hour before the killing starts. Like, there isn't even a rising tension in the sense that she gets increasingly paranoid even though nothing has happened yet. Like, there could have been it too, right? That you start seeing like danger where there isn't any, and so you are exhausted by the time the real danger comes along, like something like that. There are so many different ways this could have been done, and it's just that, like, even just the like her taking a shower is like, this is how horror movies in the 80s did it.
Yeah.
Right. This is we've gone past cliche and have arrived at antique, right? It's incredible that this happened.
It felt like what I mean by like a social media type of relationship, because it kind of felt like she was I wouldn't say an airhead, but
she's an architect. She's not stupid.
I understand, but
she's going to a job interview in Seattle or wherever, Portland, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and
this is a high status job.
But the way that she was presented wasn't like that. That's the thing, though. Like, the way that she was presented, like what they gave, and which it kind of annoyed me as well, because in the first original movie, the couple were very, the tone of their relationship was very borderline depressing. They were very, like, I wouldn't say dark, but they had a more mature presence about them. Whereas
they're also like 10 years older or something like that.
I don't know if they were 10 years older. I don't think they were 10 years. They weren't specific in the age. But I think they were pretty much the same age as remake.
So mid to late 20s. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They felt a bit more mature, but it felt like they've gone through a lot in life. Whereas this couple, it felt very TikTok-y. It felt very social media type of relationship. And sometimes they were acting like airheads. I remember there was one scene. Oh my god.
I mean, they are stupid. Like, but because they're not supposed to be stupid people, but they act in stupid ways because the plot says so. Yeah.
Exactly. And there was one. They remember the scene in the shed when she turned her back to the window, and then one of the strangers ended up breaking through the window and putting it in a headlock. And then out of nowhere, the boyfriend ended up shooting one of them. Well, he didn't shoot them, but he shot right next to her. He ended up in the shed.
Yeah, I remember.
That was so, for me, I felt like, firstly.
Well, I think at that point, like, he was holding her, right? So he was using her as cover, so he couldn't have shot him.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
The reason he couldn't have shot the girlfriend because the stranger.
Well, if he had tried, he would have hit Maya.
But which was crazy because it nearly hit her, and that's why I was saying. Firstly, it felt like it was an aimless shot. Secondly, it wasn't implied that this guy can shoot a gun because this wasn't their cabin. Whereas in the first film, the cabin belonged to a family member of his, I believe. So, and obviously he knew where the shotgun was, he knew where the bullets were. So that told us, okay, this guy knows how to shoot a gun. So that's why it made sense that he, in the character in the first film, knew how to shoot a gun. Whereas here, like, aim like that, he could have accidentally shot his girlfriend. Like, there was no inkling that this guy knew how to shoot a gun. Like, I don't know what his profession was, but there were certain things that were invited that was like, okay, how can you do this? Why is this happening? And I remember you even mentioned the whole scene with where he dropped his inhaler. That didn't really come to anything. Like,
I was going to get to that. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, like I had that in my back pocket to get to eventually. Yeah, but like, there's so much stuff to complain about. It's hard to find.
I don't even want to slate. I don't really want to slate this movie though, because like I said, it's one of my.
I do.
No, but I understand why you do. But for me, like I said, this is a film that
I'm taking this personally.
Sorry?
I'm taking this personally.
No, but I'm taking this personally as well because this is a film. Like I said, the original was is my top 3, Daniel. My top 3 films of all time. So to see what they've done, to see what they've done with it hurts. You know what I'm saying? It hurts.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really want to go into it too much. And I do feel it for some of these filmmakers because I want to be a filmmaker one day. And imagine if I end up creating a rubbish film. You know what I'm saying? And I hear people slating. That's why I don't really want to. But at the same time, we have to be fair when it comes, like, well, it's criticism. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're entering an industry where criticism is inevitable. So, yeah, it's just, it's hard to kind of go into this film and completely kill it. That's why I'm trying to see if there was anything that we can find that we like.
But they brought this on themselves.
Sure.
But to continue my explanation of why I can't find anything good about this is, number one, the movie doesn't actually give us anything. Even the not terrible parts are still surrounded by terribleness. So I can't like I think if I had to come up with something, and actually, and this is, I might be the only person on the internet who thinks that the marriage proposal was not terrible.
Yeah, that would have been us.
Because like I can imagine a better movie in which they basically kind of take life for granted, and they are kind of coasting, and they don't see an immediate need to be married, right?
Mm.
And then you strip all of that away, every comfort they have, every luxury, every hope, and it's just pure survival. And the only thing that's left is that they care about each other and want to see each other safe. And at that point, proposing essentially as a symbolic gesture of, we both know we're not going to survive the next 2 minutes, but I want to go out, like I want to go out of this life having accomplished the single most important thing, which is to be with the person I care about, right? Like you can imagine something like that. I'm not saying this movie actually does this well, but it's kind of there. Like it's sprinkled throughout like 3 or 4 different moments in the movie where the idea is brought up, and they're both kind of in agreement initially that it's not important, and they get around to it eventually. And they, like, if anything, if I had to interpret like that the final proposal, it would probably be something along the lines of, we've been putting this off because we figured there would always be time, but now we won't. No, that won't be true, and so no, here it goes, kind of thing. I can, like, if I'm being really generous, I can read that into it.
Yeah.
Problem is, like, I don't care about these people. I don't, like, they have not demonstrated personalities. They have not demonstrated independent thought, and so I'm being really generous by projecting a character arc onto like 3 lines.
Yeah.
Like, it's not important to their personality. It's not important to who they are and how they relate to each other. Like, even this idea of there will always be time, like, that's actually a decent idea for a horror movie, right? This idea that people live lives that are comfortable enough that there will always be time to do the important things. And then being put into these life and death situations for the first time in their lives kind of brings home the idea that there may not always be another time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fine idea, but I think it's more of an idea than an actual part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really scraping the barrel with this one.
I agree. And in terms of the strangers themselves, you said you thought they were plain. There wasn't really much to them. What do you think? How else do you think they could have been presented in a way, where you would have at least, well, in a way where you would have liked them at least? Because in the first, like I said, in the first movie, they, you know what it is? I think it's because I think you'll like them, even though they weren't talking whatsoever in the first film as well. So they were presented pretty much the same, similarly in the remake. But I think it's because the environment that they were placed in, it made them more sinister in terms of like the situation, like, because the environment that these strangers were placed in, they were placed in a not so great film, not so great. I wouldn't say actors, but characters, in terms of like the relationship dynamic and how they were presenting themselves. So they were placed in an environment which wasn't great. But obviously, the first movie, their lack of their silence and the way that they were behaving, they just felt better, even though it was technically the same in a way ish. The scenes were different, so they were in different locations, and they executed their kills in different manners. So, but yeah, what do you think in terms of like the strangers here? Why were they so boring to you? Was it because they weren't speaking, or?
So, looking at the cast list, right? Like, I can't prove this, but just based on how things look, here's my theory. Every actor is an American with a Wikipedia page, right? Except for whoever Jasmine is. I think she's the woman who works in the diner, who drives them to the cabin. Maybe, I don't know. The 3 killers. So this movie was not filmed on location in the Pacific Northwest. It was filmed in Hungary, I think.
Oh wow!
Because it's cheap and because of tax breaks, whatever, right? So, and I've seen comments from people who live in the Pacific Northwest saying this movie was not shot in the Pacific Northwest. There's no attempt made to make it look like Pacific Northwest. It's just a forest. But just looking at the cast list, cast is a bunch of American names with Wikipedia pages. The 3 killers are Hungarian names with no Wikipedia pages. So I think they hired some extras for the killers.
Oh crap!
So, I mean, no offense to Matusz Latschak and the other 2, right? maybe they are great Hungarian actors who got a chance to be in a Hollywood movie. I don't know, and apologies to them if I'm getting this wrong. But it looks a lot like they hired some extras, some local extras, and that jives with how much care and effort went into portraying these. I'm not ragging on the actors, right? I'm just saying in terms of the production, the decisions the production made to create and bring to life these killers, and it looks like absolute minimum effort possible. So they're not supposed to have lines, they're not supposed to have motives, they're not supposed to have they could have personalities in the way they act, but they literally just walk around with knives and look a bit ominous. But there's nothing they do, and nothing to their, like, the way they behave that is in any way distinctive or memorable or creative or conveys any kind of meaning. Like, if this is supposed to be embodiment of random crime, shouldn't that be reflected in how they behave and in how they're designed and how they kill? I don't know. I don't have a specific pitch for what it should be, but there's just nothing to them. They barely do anything. They kind of stand around and they kind of look a bit threatening, and most of the threat comes from the music, like the cliche horror movie music. Like, I cannot get like, I don't know if they're any better. Like in the clips I've seen from the old movie, it looks so the masks are the same, and they kind of do a lot of standing around, but they are more ominous, right? It's like they're in the background and they're half in shadow, and the protagonists are being watched, unaware that they're in danger and stuff like that, right? And very little of that happens here. And for the extent that it does, it's like the dumbest horror cliches, like the guy sitting in the rocking chair watching her play piano. Why? What does it say about him or about the movie that this is happening? Why is he listening to her? Why is he not just stabbing her? Why is he teleporting around? Right? Why does he watch her in the shower and not kill her? Like, isn't this the perfect time to kill her? Like, could she be any more backed into a corner and defenseless?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? But why mess with her? Why? Because it looks cool in the trailer, that's why.
There was no purpose in certain things that they were doing.
And that feeds into this larger theme of unintention, right? That nothing in this is there on purpose. It's nothing there is supposed to convey anything. It's all either I've seen this in other horror movies, therefore it's in this one, or it was in the original, therefore it's in this one, or it will look cool in the trailer, therefore we will do it. That's the entire thing. Nothing else. I don't know. Did you get anything out of the killers beyond that?
No. What I did get was it's I don't know how, but I just felt that the antagonists here, the strangers here, just felt less, like you say, ominous and sinister in comparison to the original strangers, which is weird because they're not talking. Like, literally, you don't talk. Like, even in the first one, I'm like, how the hell is that possible? That you're not literally, like, your character doesn't say anything, but the strangers in the original feel more scarier than you, and you're both doing so. You're both supposed to do the same thing, not speak and just, you know what I'm saying? And I believe it's because a lot of what they were doing here, there was no purpose behind it, and the situations that they put, like the places that they put them in, like especially with the shower scene, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're watching a shower for what reason? Like, and I don't know how the hell you did it, but you were sitting down. That scene doesn't happen in the original, by the way. That scene got me a bit confused. She was playing the piano and he was just sitting down watching her. I was like, okay, why are you doing that? Like, that doesn't really happen in the first one. There was only one scene where he really appears when so there's a knock on the door and then she steps back and then the stranger, he's there, like he's watching her from, I don't know, it's from some dark room, and then he leaves. I think there was only like probably 1 or 2 encounters where that happens, but they overdid it with the strangers.
They did like 6 times or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to bring up was the movie. So in the movie Parasite, right, the Korean horror movie from some years ago, they got all the awards and everybody loves, and I think it's a broken movie. It doesn't work at all on a story level, but one thing that is really cool about Parasite is that at the exactly 50% mark, it turns into a different movie, because there's a plot point that changes the what is happening, right? Like the entire dynamic, the entire tone and feel. And this movie had several opportunities to do that. right? Where it could have just turned it into a different kind of story or changed the dynamic or marked like the transition to a different status quo, whatever. Like, so one of them was when they got the gun. Another one was when they left the cabin. There were several different opportunities for them to change what was going to happen. And every time they squander it, like them having a gun doesn't change it. They have a chance to kill one of the strangers and don't do it. Like, is that there isn't like this at that point? There isn't even a reason like why they possibly couldn't do it. Like, they literally have the gun to their head, and all they have to do is pull the trigger. And I understand that they're not cold-blooded killers, right? They're not those kinds of people, and I would be shaking too, but I would probably do it anyway because I'm afraid for my life, right? And then I would be shaken afterwards and all of that, and yeah.
He already technically did it when he accidentally shot the owner of the house. So it was like, that's why I was a bit confused why he didn't just shoot her, because this is definitely a stranger. Right. So I don't get why. It was, yeah, that just made the film even worse because I don't.
And I think he shoots the repair guy before he gets a chance to kill the stranger, right?
Exactly.
So it's not, and he now that you mention it, he actually says this thing about, they say your first kill is the hardest. I've got bad news. You're not my first kill. Yeah. Right? Like, yeah. That makes it even less sense. And it could have actually been really interesting if they started hunting the strangers.
Yeah.
And then maybe they kill two of them, and then they run out of bullets, and they are hunted again, or something, right? Like, you can imagine things, or even if they kill one of them, and now it's personal, or something, right? What's even the thought process? Why even write that scene if you know you're not going? Why even give them a gun in the first place, right? Is it like, does it say anything about the story? Does it say? Why even with like a gun is like the symbol of self-empowerment, right? Whoever has the gun makes the rules, and even that isn't enough, or something. Like, but that's not the story, and that's not justified in the story. When he loses his inhaler, that has no consequence. He doesn't. His asthma never makes a difference in the story. He still can run away. He can still hide. Like, I've had asthma attacks, and I'm not hiding from anybody when I have an asthma attack, right? You know what I mean? It simply doesn't, like, they telegraph it so hard that I was expecting, here now they're setting, like, it's a bit clumsy, but at least they're setting something up, and then they didn't. Like, him needing his inhaler or losing his inhaler halfway through did not impact the story. It's just all around garbage.
Ah, man, it's a sad one, man, but
I really want to see what the box office is like for the next two, because like, I think I will lose all hope in humanity if people just shrug and say, yeah, I'm fine with this. Because even if you have no standards at all, right? And I really don't mean to sound like a snob, but if you look at this and say, oh, this is fine, this is a good story, I can't see your point of view, I'm afraid.
I agree.
And like, this should be punished. This should fail. Like, I'm all for movies making all the money in the world if they are good and if they contribute something and if they give people a good time. But something like this should be punished by failing.
I agree. Man, straight to streaming this should go. But I'm intrigued to see as well what happens with the second film, to see if it actually flops in the box office. If it doesn't, then we're giving these film productions reasons to continue on giving us mediocre.
Yeah, if this is a less risky move than making a proper movie, like The Fall Guy I think it's a great movie. I think I liked it more than you did, but it's a proper movie, right? It tells a story, it has charm, there's stuff happening in it, it has ideas, and that movie lost money quite a bit. Now you also can't make The Fall Guy for 8.5 million. That's another side of it. But like, if you are an executive, which of those two would you rather gamble your career on?
Okay.
Right? Like, it's The Strangers. It's The Strangers every time.
Right? Yeah, The Strangers, because obviously less to make and just less risk. So
no risk, right? This is guaranteed to make money. Like, even if even if it stalls out like 15 million, which it won't, there's still streaming and whatever else, and TV and Blu-rays and whatever. So this will make money, and a decent profit margin too, if your initial cost is 8.5 million. So this is just like, all the incentives point towards making stuff like this. And you could have made a really, really great movie for, like, I could name a bunch of different horror movies that were made for no money at all. That's, did really well. Like, because they had creativity and passion and like a good story and good characters and stuff like that. Like, those things intrinsically don't cost more money. Like, you could, like, with the same parameters and the same amount of money, you could have made a really good movie.
Well, Danny, last thoughts and ratings, man.
Like, this is a straight up 5 out of 11. Like, it's just not worth anything. Like, it's better than something like Madame Web, just by virtue of being a functioning movie. And it's like, if all you want is some noise on your second monitor for 2 hours, then by all means go ahead. But there's just so much better stuff. Like, and just on its own, there's just no value to it. There's just nothing going on. It's not even mindless fun, because even that is missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10. You know what I'm about to say? What I'm about to say might piss off Daniel, but I'm actually gonna go watch chapter 2. And
why?
the reason why I'm gonna watch it because firstly, there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. Mainly because I just like going to the cinema. Secondly,
there's other stuff on
Sorry?
There's other stuff
that much other stuff that's going to be on during that week. I think I've seen most of them, and the stuff that are showing, I don't really like as well. I've checked. There's going to be stuff that I like as well. But to be fair, also, I'm not going to be watching it to see if it's going to be a good film, because I know it's not going to be a good film. I just don't see how they can just change things around. I don't know how they're going to turn things around with already just the foundation that they've set. I don't think that they're going to turn it around with the second film. It's just, it's because I like cinema. You know what I'm saying? I like cinema. I like horror. Strangers is always going to have a place in my heart, and I just want to see how I'm not praying for its downfall. I do pray for a miracle that it will turn around, but mainly because I just like going to the cinema, and I just want to go to the cinema. You know what I'm saying? And I like horror. And
so the reason I don't expect anything at all from parts 2 and 3 is that they've already been made. Like, they wrote this as a 4.5-hour movie, and then cut it up into 3 pieces. And so any ideas that aren't in this likely are not going to be in the others either. Like, that's just the reality of it. I might, like, indirectly follow it out of curiosity, mostly just to hear, like, where the story goes, but I'm definitely not going to pay money for it. I'm even conflicted about watching it on Netflix or wherever it will show up, because that still gives credence to it, right? Like hate watching stuff is still engagement. And like, these companies don't care why you watch it. Like, if you watch it ironically, if you hate watch it, it's still engagement. And that's what makes them money. And so the only way we get better movies is if we watch the good stuff and don't watch the bad stuff. Like, that's the only way. And so
I'm just guilty of it as well. I agree. I'm just guilty of it as well. I just couldn't sit here and lie, because I knew that when the movie comes, I knew I have a feeling. If there's something else that's bad, I'm most likely not going to go and watch it. But if there's nothing else that's coming out, and it's only that one during that week, I just can't sit here and say I'm not going to go and watch it, because, like I said, I like going to the cinema. You know what I'm saying? I just love cinema. So
I think I might spite watch the 2008 version when part 2 comes out. just to make a point, just to myself, that nobody else will notice.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's discussion. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and yeah, man, we'll catch you next week. Au revoir.
Bye-bye.